Good Monday morning. The exit interviews are in the books. That NFL draft drought that the Tigers had faced is over, just barely, but they got a guy in. And the spring game produced a major surprise. I have no idea what Ryan Silverfield is going to do with the quarterback position. We talk about all of these things. We go to Tampa. Our friend from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, TJ Reeves, will join us. We'll end our Mondays, as always, with Ted Butler on golf. And we will certainly give out medals. I've got a bunch, both good and bad, coming your way in just one moment. So, Zach Kleiman had I think, a 5-minute dissertation to start his exit interview yesterday. And I'm not sure if there's a mixed message here or really what he's just trying to figure it all out in his own head. He went on to say that the core three is entering their prime. There is so much good with the core three. There has been so much growth amongst the big three, the core three. But then toward the end, it hasn't been good enough. We made it to the second round once. They've won one playoff series in this time frame with most of these guys. And he said everything's on the table. So there was some mixed messages there. Here's my quick thoughts on what the Grizzlies are going to do. What can they do? You've got three guys. One, Ja, I think you're committed to. I'm not sure you could get what he's worth right now, because when he's healthy and he has the right frame of mind, he's one of the 10 best players in the league, particularly on the offensive side. He is clearly a guy that can create his own shot. His paint production has lessened in the last couple of years. I'm going to attribute that to health. The scary part is he's not made it up with three-point production. He has not become a better three-point shooter. But he sells tickets. He sells jerseys. He's excitement. He's a reason you want to come to an NBA game. I don't think you can let him go. Both sides of the floor, your best player is Jaren Jackson Jr. Your problem with Jaren Jackson Jr. is he's going to make a lot of money. If you give him an extension this year, he'll be a true free agent the year after. You could get away with not making a deal. In essence, you will be letting him go for nothing. You could try to trade him, or most likely you've got to keep him because he's your best two-way guy, and I think he still has room to get better. Certainly the physicality aspect of it. He's big enough. I think he's got the heart to want to do it. I think he's got the passion. And he's the one guy who's said many, many times, I want to stay. I like it here. It's the only place I've ever been. And then there's Desmond Bane. You gave a lot of money to Desmond Bane last year. I think he's got several years left at, almost $40 million a year or somewhere in that ballpark. The question with Desmond Bane is, who's going to take that contract on for a guy who's now proven? And I love Desmond Bane. I do. He's one of my favorite guys because I think he tells it like it is. I think he really cares. But he cannot be a point guard. He's a shooting guard. And he can drive on you, and he can certainly shoot threes, but he's not a guy that you can play at point guard positions because he can't handle the ball better, and that was totally exposed by OKC. Your backup point guard turned the ball over a lot, and Scottie Pippen Jr., but man, did he ever take over the game, and you're going to keep him because he's a true great backup. Now, he could get a little better at ball protection, but if those are your two point guards they're going to possess the ball, they can't keep turning it over. That was a big flaw, and you'll see in my Russ when we talk about this as to why there could be an additional point guard being brought in as a backup that is a guy who can handle the ball. I don't know how you're going to arrive at that, but I'm certain that would be something because this year the Grizzlies turned the ball over a lot. But I don't know that you could make a trade that would really bring you back anything that would be in your favor competitively or at the box office. So, and I've thought about this over and over and over again. I don't know what you do with the head coach. I know there's some people out there that are definitely ready to move on from Thomas Isalo. I don't know that he had a real fair chance. I don't think he was a great game operator. There were some weird matchups that he had at the end when he had Aldama as the point guard at the end, a point forward at the end of one game. He did not challenge things that were pretty clear, I think, at the moment he should have challenged. But was it fair? A 9-game with one practice day and then into a series with a team that had previously beaten you 9 games in a row before the playoffs. And that is not a fair test or an assessment for a guy that a lot of people think will be a heck of a head coach. I don't know what you do with him. I do think it's pretty clear, though, that you're not in a position, and I think that's what Zach Kleiman was trying to say. There is still a lot of good with these guys. We can still win 50 games with these guys. We can still win some playoff series with these guys. Could we win a championship? I don't think so. But I don't think you can get value for what you've got. And so I think, in essence, you've got to run it back one more year. I really do. Elijah, I want your take on this. But I think if you look at all the factors, knowing that you'll still be competitive, knowing that you'll bring people into the ballpark, knowing that you can't get true value for what you could trade, maybe you can get lucky that Wells becomes a superstar kind of a guy because he's a wing and D fellow that actually, according to Zach Kleiman, he thought he was going to be in the stages of development. He'd be a G League guy, and he just beat everybody out. I think Zach knows he needs more veterans, but now some of these guys are becoming veterans. They've got the playoff DNA. They've got the scar tissue, that is for sure. Will they be better than OKC? I doubt it. Will they be better than Houston? I'm not sure. Those are younger teams too. But I don't think you have much choice. I think you've got to say to yourself, we haven't been totally healthy. We'll get Ja, and hopefully he'll play 75 games next year. I meant to look this up. Who played the most games for Memphis this year? Remember, in my trivia question, in 2008-9, 4 guys played 82 games, and a fifth, Rudy Gay, played 79 games. I don't think there's anybody played 79 games for the Grizzlies this year. Maybe they get health. Everybody stays and plays 75 games, and you can win more games. You're a top 4 seed. You might not win the title, but you're going to really be entertaining and maybe get to the Western Conference Finals. Maybe that is good enough, and then make your decisions on what to do from there. Some of that will be who's your coach and how good that coach is. But I think you really don't have much choice. I think you are committed to the big 3, the core 3, for one more year. And I guess you're going to have to bite the bullet on Jaren Jackson Jr. That would be my biggest sense, because he's the one guy that can play both sides that really wants to be here. What's the most games a Grizzly played this year?
It is Scottie Pippen Jr. with 79.
So he played 79. How about that? So your backup point guard, a guy that you signed in the Summer League last year, is a guy who played your most games. That is incredible. Of the starters, who played the most games?
It was Jaren Jackson Jr. with 68 games.
So he just beat the 65 you got to have to be an all-star. Now, that was a pretty smart move by the NBA to make that caveat, I think. So what would you do, Elijah Seegers? Would you keep this core? Would you make a move? The guy that I think would be the one that you would try to trade would be Bane, but who's going to take on his contract for a guy who's pretty well established now as very good, but at one position, shooting guard?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions things can go a lot of different ways, and I think it's easy right now where we're all pretty emotionally charged, being a day or two removed from being swept. So I think that plays a big part in a lot of people's diagnosis of the situation right now. I think with this core three, I can't see them winning a championship either, even in their primes. I think that they've still each got more steps to make. I think that they will each get better. But I do think that eventually, I think that you have to maximize this timeline. And I know that that's been something that's been brought up before by people kind of vaguely. I think that we haven't really dove into the specifics enough of, okay, we say we want to trade these guys, but what kind of guys do we want in return? What kind of guys can elevate this team to the next level? And I think that with Desmond Bane's contract, you look at the guys who would match 1-for-1, and it's like Michael Porter Jr., and that doesn't do much for you. So I think if you were to make a move like that, I think you would try to make a 1-for-2 move where you bring in 2 role players, where we see role players dominating right now that series against the LA Lakers with the Timberwolves. The role players, along with Anthony Edwards, are winning that series for the Timberwolves. So I think the Grizzlies can benefit from potentially doing that. I think that they could go that route.
Who do you trade to get the kind of role players you're looking for? And by the way, Zach Kleiman did identify the kind of guy and culture that he wants here. And it's a guy that fights his head off, like Zach Edey, he said. And I think he mentioned Cam Spencer, who he thinks is going to be a good player. And maybe that's a guy that you'll find getting into the rotation next year a little bit more instead of playing the majority of the games in the G League. But that he wants a guy that's a grit and grind kind of a guy. I guess Vince Williams would be put in that mold, although I'm not sure he specifically mentioned Vince Williams. But he did mention Edey and Cam Spencer and Jalen Wells, by the way. And those are the guys that's the kind of culture he wants. Guys that'll be really hard-fought, defensive-minded, who also possess some offensive skills. And Edey's a rare guy because he's 7'4". He's not going anywhere. You got him on a rookie contract. And, man, the upside for him, to me, seems a lot better than I initially thought it might be.
Yeah, and bringing up the Isolo thing, too, you talk about culture and establishing a culture where this core has been here for a long time, and we have seen Ja step up as the technical leader of the team, but he's not a vocal leader by any means. And when you think about young teams and having vocal leadership, they usually take on the personality of the coach. We see that with the Detroit Pistons. We see that with the Houston Rockets. So I think with Isolo, I think he's a great X's and O's coach, but I don't know if he can be that emotional leader for this team.
Oh, and don't forget, it's his first time with the reins in this league. So I don't know what he does there as well. He's got his options. I know there's some veteran coaches out there that have been written on threads on websites that people talk about. But Zach Kleiman's got a lot of decisions he's got to make. But from what I gathered from the exit interviews yesterday, I think they're going to run back the core three. And I don't know that they really have much choice but to do that. Meantime, I mentioned the spring game. And the Tigers found that I think they're bigger. I know they're bigger just by the eye test. I know they're faster because both coaches on both sides of the ball, Cramsey and Hankins, both talked about the team speed, in particular with the Tigers with receivers. They've got 2 or 3 guys that are real speed burners they did not have last year. They had a guy named Chris Smith who really stood up this year. I'll get to that in medals here in just a little bit. And I think the new linebackers look pretty good because they were efficient. The defense really won. The big surprise was the quarterback, and I will get to that when we get to medals because he's going to get a gold medal. And I'm so happy for this Tiger basketball. Dink Yates. I thought, the one thing, Dink Yates is an athletic guy. He was Mr. Basketball when he played Somerville, whatever the school in Somerville is. I forget at the moment. But he's from Somerville, not far. And he's got decent size. He's very athletic. He does not have great speed, foot speed. He's not a good defensive player. And, the way this played out would be he went into the portal. But I don't think it was of his own volition. I think Penny said, son, you're really a good player, but you're not going to get playing time here. I'd love for you to get some playing time. Go into the portal. Hey, I got a deal for you. I got a buddy that could really use you. You could be a star. So Dink Yates basically ended up with Tony Madlock. He's at Alabama State. Don't forget, they won the SWAC tournament last year. They ended up playing in the NCAA. Of course, they were a 16 seed against a 1. It was not a pretty thing, but they did make the NCAA. Madlock's going to have a pretty good team. I believe both his son and Knox, the kid from Bartlett, are still on that team. I don't think they were seniors. And now you add Dink Yates, who definitely could be a starter in that league, in my estimation. So I think the makings of a good team. I'm happy for Dink Yates. I hope he gets a whole lot of PT. We'll talk a bunch about the draft with TJ Reeves coming up in a minute. But we got to get to medals really quickly here as I sit in the Family Leisure studio. And a reminder, pool time's still here. They may have a new sale next month, but you got a couple of days to get to I-40 and Wooden Road and book your pool installation. All you have to do is mention us. The installation is free. You can get pools beginning at under $2,000, liners starting at under $3,000, pool accessories up to 20% off, and the 5 to 6 person hot tubs, they start at under $7,000, and those things are really something. Go in, you'll love the way the store looks at I-40 and Wooden Road. Family Leisure, where it is pool time. Time now for medals. I'm going to give a bronze medal to Kobe Minor. He became the last player taken in the NFL draft, which is now known as Mr. Irrelevant. The key thing here is that he ends a 3-year drought. Since Dylan Parham and Calvin Austin were taken in 2022, the Tigers had not had a player taken in the draft, but the kid who transferred here from Indiana, Kobe Minor, makes that. Now, there were 6 others who got a chance to make the league. They did not go in the draft. I think some of them have a chance. Chandler Martin gets signed with Baltimore, and that's a perfect place for him. Seth Hennigan goes to Jacksonville. Rock Taylor goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Demir Blankensee goes to New England. Anthony Lamphere will go to the team that our guys on the broadcast team with. That's Tampa. So the Tiger tight end goes to the Buccaneers. And Davion Ross, who is a defensive back / returner, he will go to the Tennessee Titans. So 7 guys have a chance to make it in the NFL. I think 2 or 3 are going to end up making it. I really do. So they get part of my medals here. But Minor gets the first bronze. I'm going to give a bronze medal to the Grizzlies, who were able to play in the series, because they could have folded up the tent, especially after losing Game 3 the way they did, and they fought hard. They lose by 2, have a chance with a tip at the buzzer to try to tie the game, get it to overtime. They never gave up holding the rope, and I appreciate that, because when you lose a 29-point lead, 26 in the second half, and your best player is out, and 2 of your rotation players are out, it's so easy to just feel sorry for yourself and quit. They never did. Bain never quit. Jackson never quit. Pippen never quit, who had 30. That's pretty good. Edie never quit. These guys never gave up the rope. So for the effort against what I think is going to end up being the NBA champs, I think this team is special, this Oak City. We'll see, because Boston's got the experience and a title already, but we'll see. I think OKC can win it. I think that they've had a special year already, the biggest point differential margin of victory in the history of the game, over 82 games. That says something. And I know they're young, but I think they got a shot. But they didn't give up the rope, so I give the Grizzlies a bronze for their effort, especially in Game 4. I'm going to give a silver medal to Andrew Novak and Griffin. That's the team that won the Zurich team play in New Orleans. I just hope this. We'll talk with Ted Butler about it. You realize McElroy had a pretty good drought. He won with Shane Lowry yesterday, or a year ago. I didn't play so good yesterday. But they won last year, and then it turned out to be the banner year for McIlroy. Won many tournaments, finally got his major at Augusta. That was the beginning of this run for Rory. I hope that's the way for Andrew Novak had been at the door. They win the Zurich. I got to give a silver medal to the Memphis Showboats, who win their first game this year. So now, in the last 2 years, they've had as many wins as they've had coaches. At least they're at that level. By the way, they win it in overtime in Birmingham. It's the first home loss for the Birmingham Ball Club since 23. They hadn't lost in Birmingham. First, somebody wrote this that I think is right. It's the first time Memphis has won in Birmingham in the UFL or USFL since 1985.
Wow.
I like that. And you know who the quarterback was? Dresser Wynn, who got his first start in a game in almost 3 years. You have to go back to UT Martin where he played. And I can't remember the high school, but I think he played high school ball here. So he's a hometown guy that finally won a game for the Showboats. Do you know where he went to high school by any chance?
He went to Dresden High School.
Dresden. Okay. I thought it was like FACS or something, but Dresden. Close enough. That's good. That was really good. So he and they get silver medals. And then my gold goes to Arrington Maiden, who clearly came into camp as a guy who was going to be competitive, but was the third stringer. And the battle was going to be between the 4-star prospect, Hill, and the guy who's got 37 starts, who started at Colorado, went to Nevada, had a good year last year, and that's Lewis. Aiden stole the show, Arrington Maiden. Maiden ends up 18 of 31, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, has a rifle for an arm, is pretty elusive, did throw an early interception on a botched screen pass. And the Tigers found a speedster in C.J. Smith. He's a transfer who started at Georgia, went to Purdue. He had 6 receptions from Maiden and 102 yards. That could be the combination. Who knows? The Tigers, by the way, did show a lot of speed. They got in the wide receiver room, man, they got 2 or 3 guys that are speed burners. They lack that. They got some big tight ends. I'm really, it's always tough to tell a spring game because you're playing yourself. My gut feel is this is going to be a good football team. And I don't know which way Ryan Silverfield and Tim Cranzy are going to go in the quarterback because they got 3 choices here. I'm just hoping that Maiden doesn't go, look, other coaches, look what I did in the spring and hit the portal.
Never bad to have options.
No.
Never bad to have options. For my bronze medal, I went with Eugenio Suarez of the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you missed it, he had the 19th 4-home run game in MLB history. In a loss, unfortunately. But 4 home runs in a game for Eugenio Suarez, who now leads the MLB with 10.
I was listening to you guys earlier, and Dave Kingman numbers are exactly that. He's got 10 home runs, 6 singles, I don't know how many doubles, but more doubles than singles, I think. I mean, that's Dave Kingman. He's got 31 strikeouts. Dave Kingman! It's unbelievable. And the balls that he hits, mammoth.
All or nothing players indeed. For my silver, I went with Scottie Pippen Jr. I thought that he had a really, really great series despite the Grizzlies' team struggles. 18-6-4 were his splits on the series, and he really cemented himself as the Grizzlies' backup point guard of the future, I think. For my gold, had to give it to the Showboats. Showboats getting their first win of the season, 24-20, in a place where wins are very scarce in Birmingham against the Stallions. Big time first win. Shout out to Dresser Wynn and the Boats for getting the win.
There we go. Now the bad. 2 rush for me. 1, the first one goes to the NBA referees in the Detroit-New York Knicks game. There's no question that Hardaway Jr. was fouled on a final shot from three-point land. They did not call it. It allowed the Knicks to take a 3-1 series lead over the Pistons. This was in Detroit. Everybody in the ballpark saw it. The replay clearly showed there was a foul. There was no ability to challenge it. The referees did not, even though I thought the ref had held up his hand as if there was a foul. No foul called, and then afterward they admitted they blew it. So this game, this series, could easily be tied 2-2, and the referees blew that call, which cost the Detroit Pistons. That is awful. And then I got to give a rust to the Grizzlies in the series with OKC at how they just did not protect the basketball. Do you realize OKC scored 103 points off Grizzlies turnovers?
Man.
103. My gosh, Ja's availability not there. And Ja played, I did the numbers on this. In his career, here's the issue that you got to hope he's able to figure out. I don't know if he can because he's so slight and so explosive. Ja has now has had the availability to play in 328 NBA games over his career. He's only played in 177 of those. That's 53%. So he plays in barely more than half the games he's available for. That's got to go. He's got to play 75 games and be really good in those games for the Grizzlies to have a shot to be a good seed.
Yeah, we talk about making moves, but Ja has to be on the floor for this team to have a chance. My rust, though, I give it to the Grizzlies as well. Just really the amalgamation of the last 2 months of the season, with firing of Taylor Jenkins, with the injury issues throughout the season, and for it to culminate in a series sweep against the Oklahoma City Thunder with a cloudy offseason ahead. It's going to be, there's going to have to be things that happen this offseason for this team to get in a better position, and we'll see if they're up for the challenge.
I would have to say this is the first time in his tenure that Zach Kleiman is facing an offseason that has crisis. It's the first time where everybody's going, wait a second, you got to hold him accountable, and we have not heard that until this year. Those are our medals. They're brought to you by Miramichi, and I got to tell you, Miramichi's now open on Mondays. Yeah, it used to be closed. They still have some members, but now everybody can go play on Monday. By the way, there are member benefits. You should ask about a membership. They got their own little driving range, and the balls are all set for you there. It's a good deal for sure. The best rate to go for all of us, it's Thursday. That's when they have their best golf rates all the way from the morning until the afternoon tee times. And I love to say it. It's not in Millington. It's in Woodstock. It's literally 25 minutes away from my driveway in East Memphis. And it's worth going because it's a beautiful golf course. It can be a real stern test of competition, or it can be a lot of fun depending on the tee box you choose, and they've got 5 of them to choose from. Guaranteed this, it's a true golf experience with a lot of beauty, a great clubhouse, great food, great service. It's the whole deal. All you got to do is go to Miramichi. We take a break. When we come back down to Tampa, we'll talk with TJ Reeves in just a minute.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Elwood Shack and the Lowe's parking lot on summer just keeps getting bigger and better. Bigger because now there's a second Elwood Shack at 4040 Park across from the University of Memphis. And better because you can get breakfast every day at both Elwoods. There's the barbecue breakfast burrito, either beef brisket or pork shoulder, and pancake biscuits made fresh daily. Real house-made pancakes, apple and bacon, French toast, and more. And the new Elwood Vegan is a real coffee bar serving fresh roasted J. Brooks coffee. Elwood Shack, now with 2 locations and open every day for you.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Hernando, Little Rock, and Cleveland, Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-822-1598. 800-822-1598. 800-822-1598.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
It's the Freedom of Choice pricing program, Ram Truck Month and Jeep Celebration all in one at Gossett Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat on the Pike. 2025 Compass Latitude 4x4, $49.69 off MSRP at $24,796 with Jeep Select Terrain System. Go from snow, sand, and mud. 2024 Dodge Hornet RT all-wheel drive, $12,673 off, or $397 a month with a turbocharged 2.0-liter engine standard. One of the most powerful SUVs in its class, or 0% for 72 months is available. 2025 Ram 1500 Tradesman Crew Cab with best-in-class payload capacity, now $13,335 off MSRP, or 1.9 for 72 is available. So drive past the rest and come to the best. Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat online at GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
7704, MSRP 29765, Hornet R3 A08 452, MSRP 44620, Ram SN 673 402, MSRP 517, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, excludes tax, title, license, CD for complete details, offer valid to end of the month with approved credit, dealer stock only.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
Let's head to Tampa. Our friend on the Tampa Bay Buccaneer radio crew, TJ Reeves, joins us in this time slot all the way through next basketball season, so we're happy to have him, that is for sure. TJ, were you shocked like everybody else that Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to the 5th round? Was that the biggest storyline in this year's draft?
Well, it's good to be with you, and every year we have some kind of controversy, whatever it is, and this was a controversy times probably 10. The one thing that I keep coming back to is this was so fueled by all the hype created around Deion Sanders taking the Colorado job, all the social media leveraging, etc. The hype that included, and we talked about this with you last week in advance of the draft, that the university decided to retire Shedeur Sanders' number after 2 years at the school and a 13-12 record. And so what you fast forward now, what the 3 days, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday, showed us is the NFL did not buy into the hype. Obviously, if the NFL bought into the hype, at minimum, Wolo, obviously, he would have been a night 2 pick in the 2nd round and the 3rd round when they were picking other quarterbacks like Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shuck, the quarterback from Louisville, which was a shock. Yeah. He got picked that high. So obviously the NFL didn't buy into the hype, but it's amazing how ESPN kept stoking the hype. I mean, it's remarkable that Cam Ward is the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and ESPN did not even talk to him on their live broadcast right after the Titans had picked him. And if you've heard 5 minutes of coverage on ESPN to this second about Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, versus the hours and hours and hours of Shedeur Sanders, I'd be shocked. It's amazing how little we're talking about the number 1 overall pick to Tennessee versus a guy that the NFL obviously didn't buy into until much later in the draft.
Well, I wondered this, and I like Mel Kiper, and I think he keeps this draft interesting, and he works his tail off on it.
Yeah.
But I kind of wondered if this thing kept on and on and on simply because Kiper's credibility, or at least his perception of his credibility, was being put to the test because he had him as the 5th best prospect overall, and he was basically, yelling conspiracy here when maybe this guy, they They question his mobility in the pocket. They question that he doesn't get the ball out quick enough. They question a lot of that production because it came mainly from short passes. They question, really, is he truly an NFL quarterback, compounded by the fact that he wouldn't do interviews with people, with teams.
Right.
And so to me, that is a big part of it. But I thought that this was sort of a conspiracy that was made by ESPN because their guys didn't get the pick right.
Right, and they understood if we keep fueling this and we keep talking about this, you get it, more people will watch. So the Friday night ratings are now in, and they're up 40% from last year for one reason, because that became the telethon, if you will, of will Dion's son get drafted tonight, and they fueled it. And the viral clip that's everywhere on the internet is Mel coming completely unhinged on Saturday when the fourth round began and no one took him, is when Mel is basically saying there's got to be some kind of collusion, conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. I'm paraphrasing what he's saying. And Louis Riddick tried to put him in his place. Louis Riddick, who's worked in front offices in the NFL and is a former player in the NFL, said, Mel, the draft has spoken here, that the guy is not worthy of being a top 3-round pick or now even into the 5th round. So, again, we've sat here and gone on and on about him specifically, but here's two more realities. Number one, this is the first time in about 7 years of Shedeur Sanders' career that his father couldn't pick him to be the star quarterback. Right. The NFL had to pick him. So that's point number one. And point number two on this is I was really surprised that they didn't put the word out, the Sanders camp, his agent, just don't draft us. Let us pick a place that we want to go. What do you think, Wolo? We want to go as an unrestricted, undrafted free agent to a spot where we think he's got a better chance to stick besides Cleveland. I was really surprised that by the time we got to the 5th round, they hadn't put the word out, just don't draft us. Because the money is almost the same, 5th, 6th, right. 7th round. Just let him go to a situation where they get to pick it. That surprised me. What's your thought on that?
I thought it was shocking that Cleveland took him after they'd already taken Dylan Gabriel, and,
right.
and that's the first time I think in history that one team has taken 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. So that was wild in its own right.
Back to back in the later round didn't seem to make sense in the later round.
Here's point blank, I ask you this, because I've heard a lot of theories. And by the way, Louis Riddick did soften his tone, but after the 2nd or 3rd round, I can't remember which one, he came down and was blasting the NFL for bias against Dion or bias against this kid or his attitude that clearly he has the tools. And I've heard race bias, that they don't want a face of a franchise because he's an outlaw kind of a guy. And I don't buy that at all personally.
No.
But I know there's a bunch of people that do think that. Give me, from your perspective, why do you think he dropped so much?
I think part of it is he didn't interview with the New York Giants very well, and they put the word out. And by not interviewing well, they asked him about specific mistakes, things that he did wrong in reading defenses, throwing interceptions. They wanted him to go over that with him, and he had no use for it. And so then the word gets out of that room, be careful with the entitlement, be careful of what you're welcoming in. Let me share a story with you real quick. This is why you love having me. All right, one of the freelance things I did last year was work with the Big 12 and a pregame show on Big 12 radio, and they actually hired me freelance to be at the Big 12 Media Day in Las Vegas last July. So this is at the end of the 2nd day, long, grueling work days for me. I've interviewed dozens of players and coaches, and the Colorado group is basically almost last coming to us. So I will admit, on the Mighty Sports 56, I'm a little frazzled, I'm a little fried with having to interview all of the different players of the 16 teams in the Big 12, 15 of them basically at this point. I did get the opportunity to interview Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. He was great with me. I think I even shared this with you last summer. He was very much humble about the fact they had a bad season the year before and owned up to it. When I sat with Shedeur, who Wolo was sitting 2 feet from me, talking to him, everything reeked of entitlement. When I asked him about the previous season, his attitude was, not really my fault, not a big deal, we're going to be better this year. When I asked him why, he basically said, I don't have to tell you why, we're just going to be better. I came away from that interview going, this is going to be part of the problem when his dad can't pick him to be the quarterback. This is going to rub people the wrong way. This is last July, before last season. I came away with that. So I'm just sharing that with you. That's my own personal experience being 2 feet from him for about 4 or 5 minutes, dealing with him last year. And as you mentioned, he didn't talk to every NFL team, and a couple of them that he did talk to, it rubbed him the wrong way. Just one more thing on Mel Kiper, too. Yeah. He has done an amazing job with breakdown of the draft. But Mel has been famously wrong about quarterbacks that he touted. You can go look it up on YouTube. Put Mel Kiper wrong in YouTube for the kids, for anybody that wants to, and watch him talk for 2 minutes about Jamarcus Russell getting drafted by the Raiders and him being the next great Raider quarterback and blah, blah, blah. Put the tape on and watch Mel Kiper say that Johnny Manziel should have been the number 1 overall pick in the 2014 draft.
Oh, wow.
Listen to Mel Kiper talking about Blaine Gabbert being a better pro prospect and a better pro fit than Cam Newton. This is Mel Kiper saying this stuff. So while we're sitting and listening to Mel's outrage, he don't get them all right, Wolo.
No.
He's gotten a few of them famously wrong.
Nobody gets them all right,
No.
that is for sure. Who do you think won the draft?
That's a great question. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles seem to get richer with what they're doing every year. I thought it was fascinating that you had teams like Houston and the Rams kind of trade out of the first round and accumulate picks and then come back in with middle round guys. I don't know. I mean, it's amazing that 26 of the first 32 picks were the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't know if you eliminated that number.
No, I did not realize. I did realize this. Last year, it was all quarterbacks, and almost I think the first 11 picks were all offense, and this time it was pretty well mixed. I did not realize they came from the 2 leagues. Those are clearly the 2 powerhouse leagues that want to take over everything.
And again, I say to you, correct me if I'm wrong, Cam Ward got drafted number 1 overall. Usually that is such a coveted spot, whether you're talking about Cam Newton previously or Peyton Manning before that or John Elway before that.
Well,
or
that
Troy
came
Aikman
from the
that.
ACC, remember. That's not the Big Ten or the SEC.
Right. That's correct. Well, but that was one of the 6. But still, we're not talking nearly enough. Is he going to turn the Tennessee franchise into something with a new coaching staff? The second year of the new coaching staff. What does it mean for Will Levis? Is it a true competition? I mean, that is it's nowhere. And I guess part of it is because Nashville is not New York. It's not Chicago, Philadelphia, L.A., the Cowboys. But it's just amazing to me that we're talking so little about the number 1 overall pick. We've glossed over it. We've moved on. And time will tell. I will just say this to you as well. It's not a given. I'm sorry that Shedeur Sanders even makes the Cleveland Browns when it's all said and done. He might end up being a practice squad guy because of them having Dylan Gabriel. They traded for Kenny Pickett, who has started games in the NFL, and they have Joe Flacco, the veteran, and whatever they're going to do ultimately with Deshaun Watson. They have 5 quarterbacks. So this is that part is fascinating, and this whole process is fascinating, and here we go again for another year analyzing it.
And that is our man, TJ Reeves. We'll talk golf a little bit more next week.
We'll get into the golf. We'll get into the basketball playoffs and much more down the road. I hope you're well, and we'll go from there. But the post-draft analysis is still ongoing. Good to be with you.
No doubt about it. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate you. That is our guy down in Tampa. That is T.J. Reeves. He's brought to you by Southern Security. Are you getting the lowest possible rate on your mortgage at Southern Security? They're going to offer you the lowest rates. They're going to give you flexible terms, no PMI, and the best service. You can refinance your current mortgage with the Mid-South's best mortgage lender so easily. Get information online at southernsecurity.org, and then you can actually call and talk to a person. 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender. They're proud sponsors of the U of M and 901 Women. They are your home team credit union, federally insured by NCUA. They are the great Southern Security. We take a quick break. When we come back, to summer golf and games we go, and our golf guru, that's Ted Butler, will talk the Zurich and a whole lot more. That comes your way in a minute.
Start your day with Sports 56 mornings. with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey, everybody, want to know where all the Chevys are? Where all the deals are? Right here in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. Save thousands on your new Silverado truck. Financing as low as 2.9 for 72 months. A new 2500 HD has financing as low as 3.9 and no payments for 90 days. Nothing beats having no payments most of the summer. Absolutely nothing. You could take an extra vacation, and your good credit deserves it. If you're law enforcement, first responder, healthcare, military, education, recent grad, you get an extra $500 bonus. And All-Star has all the late model pre-owns you're looking for. Camaro, Equinox, Tahoe, Suburban, and tons of Silverados. And if you have any vehicle you want to sell, bring it here to All-Star Chevy in Olive Branch and get the most money for it today. Everyone here at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch asked me to wish you and your family a very happy Easter month. So together, let's drive, or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom-made solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Hi, fellas. It's Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and I want to make you aware of something. Did you know that April is Diamond Month? Well, it is. And if your wife or your girlfriend or maybe your daughter has a birthday in April, Diamond is her birthstone. If your wedding anniversary is in April, then your wife surely deserves a diamond. Whatever the occasion, a small gift wrap box containing beautiful diamond jewelry from Russell Brothers will always hit a home run, and it will make you a hero in her eyes. A ring, a pendant, earrings, or a bracelet. You can't go wrong with a piece of jewelry from Russell Brothers Jewelers. It will be a gift that you'll treasure for many years. For 5 decades, Russell Brothers has been helping Memphis men find the very best in diamond jewelry for their sweethearts. Yellow or white gold, platinum or sterling. You cannot go wrong with a gift of exquisite diamond jewelry from Russell Brothers Jewelers. Come see us at 4646 Poplar at Perkins. Guns, guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Old defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guarantee lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections, appraisals, and free bar setting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsInMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Georgia Parkway behind Corky's Barbecue in Cordova.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 91271-5199.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn.
All we hear is
I just heard that gun commercial that Eli just did, and he was talking about old guns. We got the oldest of the guns coming your way. He's the longest golf coach, I think, in all of Memphis. How long have you been doing lessons now, Ted Butler? Good morning.
Good morning. 53 years.
53 years and still going strong. It's almost impossible to get in to see him, but he helps so many people. You never helped Andrew Novak, did you? Because I think he and Ben Griffin just did a something that will help both their careers. They finally win. Novak's been on the door for like 4 times. If you go back to a year ago in New Orleans at the Zurich, it was Lowry and McIlroy who won, and we all know what's happened to McIlroy since then. Is that going to be the way it is for Andrew Novak?
I think it is. He, you could see the look on his face of relief on 18 yesterday when they made that the final putt to win. Losing to Justin Thomas at Harbortown was a tough blow for him. They missed that putt on 18. And winning this week, I think, because he's been around all year. He plays quick. He hits the long ball. Got a good golf game. Yeah, I do. I think he's ready to make a statement.
I was shocked, but I think that win yesterday put him like 6 or 7 in the FedEx Cup points.
Yeah.
Justin Thomas is way up there. Justin Thomas is becoming, I think, one of the great stories of the year. You think he wins a major this year?
No, I think Rory's going to win them all.
Ted, there's no way Rory's going to win every one of these majors. Although the British Open, the Open, is at a course he's won before in his home country of Northern Ireland. Let's see, how's he done
Quail.
at Quail? He's done well.
Won there 4 times. He's won there 4 times.
So
I've already heard his preparation.
That's where the PGA is. Where's the U.S.
Yeah.
Open again?
I think it's
Oakmont.
Oak Hill.
Oakmont.
Oak Hill. One of those big ones up there. Yeah.
Real quick, Elisha, check where's the U.S. Open golf tournament this year, because I don't know if he's got any connection with that.
Well, Rory's got his plans set to play the Truist tournament. He's not playing at Byron Nelson next week, but he's preparing at the Truist, which he's defending champion, and then he's going into the PGA with every intention of winning. I mean, this is becoming more and more a topic around golf with people that I deal with all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a potential. I mean, he could win if he wins the PGA. Certainly, it's possible. He's on a run.
It's at Oakmont, by the way.
It's Oakmont, yeah. Okay.
Oakmont, okay.
Oakmont. So, I don't know.
That's a good course for him, too.
Yeah. I think every course is a good course for him. The longer, the better. It's, he carried, I was watching, maybe it was Saturday's round, and he had the tee box. It was alternate ball for this. He had the tee box, and he carried 327. Carried 327. So there's no course that is too long for him, and he can hit it straight. So he's won a U.S. Open, so we know that he could win another. I just don't see anybody winning 4. Look, Tiger never did. They had the simultaneous, but he never did it in a calendar year.
Well, true, but this is a new year, and this is a new Rory. The monkey's off his back. He's got no reason to be terribly nervous anymore, and he just free will and let it go.
Okay.
The odds are astronomically against it. I'm aware of that, but it's a fun thing to think about.
So JT is yeah, I'll tell you what was interesting. Have you ever seen a 5-way playoff before? That's what the women had. The Chevron is the first LPGA major of the year, and a young lady from Japan, Mao Shiego.
Yeah. Right.
So she wins with a birdie. Everybody else faltered on a hole that was an eagleable hole. That's how much nerves can get you on these things. And so she wins her first major. I was looking at all these players, with the exception of Jetarnagan, who kind of blew the tournament. They're all young. Oh, and you had Lindy Duncan, who's a young lady that was a Duke All-American. She's never won on the tour, and she was in the playoff too. But so many young players that are in their early 20s, and most of them come from Japan or even China or South Korea. So many of them were in the battle. They have so much talent on that circuit now.
Well, and all the foreign golfers, if you watch their training systems, see it on the phone every now and then, of the way they work out is totally different from what the women over here do, or men for that matter too. The workouts are strenuous. They do it all day, every day, and when they get out there, they're ready. They're physically ready. They're mentally ready. All the swings are really good now. You don't see any funny looking swings anymore.
What do you attribute? What different exercises do they do that might give you more flexibility, core strength, whatever it may be?
Well, they're pulling on these weights all the time. They're laying on their stomachs, pulling weights across their body. They're jumping up and down their legs, their thighs, their calves, stretching backwards. They're swinging weighted clubs 100 times in a row. Yeah, we were told, swing a weighted club once in a while.
Huh.
I mean, they do 100 times in a row every day.
Wow.
And it's just, I watched some of it on video, and it's incredible what they do. I don't know how they don't kill themselves.
I remember years ago, there was a guy that was the strength coach for the Texas Rangers. His name was Tom House. And he had spent time in Japan. And he had devised some exercises because players there would last forever. And you look at some of them that have come over, they play into their 40s, right? And they had this weird exercises that strengthen up their back, and the test was without using your shoulders, and it's impossible to do if you ever try it. Hold a pencil between your shoulder blades without using your shoulders, basically your back muscles. Those guys could do it. I don't know how. I tried it. Impossible. So they do different. They do different stuff. Some of it was like Nolan Ryan was doing some of that stuff too, and some of his strength, and he lasted forever, came from doing chores around the ranch, using a pitchfork and shoveling stuff with that developed his muscles in the shoulder and the back and flexibility. So I don't know, but there are different ways than a lot of us do it. All right, last thing real quick. Joaquin Niemann wins Live Mexico City. He's their hottest player right now, and it struck me. He had a 65 yesterday, beat DeChambeau. If there was an agreement made, what players from Live would you want, and what should they have to pay back? Anything?
Oh man, that could take about a half hour. I can't think of any of them that I would really want. I guess Koepka and Rahm and
I can think. I can think of 4 or 5. That's it.
There's not many.
They would be. I wouldn't want Phil. I wouldn't want Dustin Johnson. I wouldn't want
Nope.
Bubba Watson because they're done. I would want Koepka. I would want Rahm. I would want Cam Smith.
Yes.
I'd want Joaquin Niemann because he's winning.
Yes.
I'm not sure I'd go beyond that.
Where else would you go? I mean, who else is interesting and that good? I don't know.
What do you think they should have to pay back?
I can't even imagine. I don't know. You know how much each one has made, what percentage they have to pay back. They got to do something.
Yeah.
You know,
I would think they would have to give I'm just throwing this out with not a tremendous amount of it, but 50% of what their bonus was to sign, like $200 million guaranteed from Mickelson, half of that, and that should go into a pool that pays all the guys on the tour. Everyone.
Well, did they get the $200 million at once, or do they get paid once a year?
That's a good question.
That's a lot of money to pay back all of a sudden in one big scoop.
Right. Well,
$100 million.
They've gotten it, but have they spent it? That would be the other question you'd have to ask yourself.
Well, Phil probably already lost the gambling.
Yeah, that's some people think that's why he had to join, because he probably lost the most by going. I would have to think. Ted Butler, as always, we truly appreciate it. We'll talk next Monday.
Okay, Dave. Later.
That is our man on golf. That is Ted Butler. He's brought to you by the Spirit Shop. That's the place to go restock up because the weekend's over. You might have had a party or two with this beautiful weather. I wouldn't blame you. There were all kinds of festivals this weekend. Maybe you took a picnic and you went out there and you took a bunch of wine or beer, whatever it may be, whatever you need to restock. The Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick is the place to do it. The great location right there, 4848 Poplar, down from Clark Tower. It's a little log cabin you've passed by a million times, and what you'll find in there is an unreal amount of product, from rare bourbons to middle-of-the-road tequilas to the newest of the vodkas, or even with wines. He'll tell you the up-and-comer. You get an education. You want to rub for a rim of a craft cocktail, or maybe even the ability to learn how to make it. You get all that information, every accessory known to man, all the local beers, all at the Spirit Shop, Poplar in St. Nick. Go see Eddie Connor and tell him we sent you. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Johnny Radio's right around the corner. Have a great day, everybody.